Hello, and welcome to the Sacred Awareness Podcast. I'm your host, Angela Dawn. I'm a quantum healer, transformation coach, mystic, and channel of cosmic consciousness. Allow me to be your guide as we explore topics of metaphysics, consciousness, and just being a human during these expansive times for humanity. There is much to discover, so let's get exploring. Okay, what we're going to have a little conversation about today is the idea or the concept of common sense. What is it? What sparked this whole conversation is actually the saying about common sense isn't so common. Have you used that phrase, a variation of that phrase? Now, I know I have. So we're not going to shame ourselves, but we are going to make the decision if this is what we still want to say going forward. Here's the thing. When you say something like that to somebody, do you know how ignorant you actually sound? Take a moment, please. I'm not trying to insult you, okay? But we need to stop saying these types of things to each other. Common sense. Okay. Did you know not everybody has the same access to information that you do? Not everybody's as well read as you. Not everybody is as educated as you. Not everybody's had your experiences. They haven't learned what you've learned. So to sit there and then say that they're lacking in common sense when maybe it's only common to you. And to them, it's actually a rather foreign concept. Are we going to continue to shame people for not knowing things? Now, I'm going to share a little bit of a story of my own because that's the best way I can explain things is just through my own experiences. So come on a journey with me for a moment. I was about 8 years old and I got my first dog. I think I was around 8. It doesn't matter. It was a young girl. So that's fine. So I get this dog, but I was not taught how to actually act around a dog. I'd seen dogs before. I think I'd met some, but I never really had that much time with a dog. So one day, I was about 9 years old. I think I was about 9 years old. Anyway, so I was asked by my parents to make sure he had some water, put some water in his dish. Okay, I did. That's what I'm going to do that. So my parents asked. I'm going to make him happy. Now, what I didn't know, the common sense that I was lacking in that moment. Well, I didn't know that you really shouldn't go over top of an animal's head to feed him or water him or anything. No, you probably shouldn't do that. Mm-hmm. But what did I do? Well, he was drinking, and I'm like, well, I can kind of see logical 9-year-old, right? I can see, I could like totally like just dump it in the bowl from here. I'm kind of above him. Okay, that's what I did. Then I got bit. Okay. And then I got in trouble for not having the common sense to know to not do that. Okay. Now, while we had this dog, he ended up biting me a total of 3 different times. The third time, the second time had nothing to do with being fed or watered. It was apparently an accident. I was drying his feet off. It was winter. And my parents figured he must have slipped and I must have accidentally bumped something that was sore because he ended up attacking me and biting me second time. Third time, I was 12 though. And we had just moved that summer. So my brother and I were with my grandparents while my parents were getting the house ready. The dog was with them. And it was after supper. And I remember I'd never been at this, we just got to this house today. And I was asked to go take my dish of food that I did not finish and take it and put it on the deck outside where the dog was, and he could have it. Okay, cool. So here I was, somebody who was one already scared of this dog because I was never taught the common sense of actually how you should be acting around the dog still. I probably could have taken it upon myself as, 9-year-old getting bit or an 8-year-old having just gotten their first animal, but I didn't. And that's fine. Okay. So, anyway, so I'm standing on this deck. I don't know where to put this dish of food. And in my mind, it's like, okay, you have to put this in a good spot, or you haven't seen your parents all summer. Let's not disappoint them. Let's make sure you put this somewhere really good. Okay. So if there was a wrong place to literally just put a plate down. But anyway. So as that was happening, in my mind, I had gotten a message, a feeling, whatever we're going to call it, that as soon as you put this plate down, you're going to get bit. So I was definitely scared. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, okay, well, I don't want to get bit. Anyway, so I stood there, not really being sure what to do. I got bit. Okay. And according to mom and dad, what I was doing was I was standing there holding the plate over his head, teasing him. That is not at all what I was doing. But anyway, that's what they saw I was doing. So we did end up having to put the dog down. Yeah, it was, of course, I wish there would have been a different way, but that isn't the point here. The point here was I kept getting hurt because there was some common sense that I didn't have about how to act around this dog. So we're going to take my example. Is there something in your experiences thus far where you've judged somebody to not have the common sense, to not do what they did? Now, do you know without a shadow of a doubt that 100% yes, they actually should have known that? You can't know what somebody knows. You can't know when it's time for somebody to learn something. You also don't know the common sense that you have and these moments that we come across that are destined, that we're given opportunities to share the information that we have, but instead we're too busy judging the other person for not knowing what we knew and what we had the teachable opportunity and moment to actually teach them, to show them, to help them maybe not get hurt, maybe help not create a fear of dogs that they'd have to deal with for quite some time to still this day. Okay. But that's enough about me. Can you see how the concept of common sense, how can it be common to everybody? We don't have the same experiences. We weren't meant to have the same experiences, which is actually kind of neat. The neat thing about this place is we can each come here and have such vastly different and unique experiences, but still have these like commonalities of common sense woven all the way through. So instead of it being common sense, what if it was just moments to share knowledge, to share information? Could you look at it different? Think for a second to reading. Okay. Now, I know a lot of people who don't like reading out loud, reading in front of people specifically. And it's for this reason. It's when they pronounce a word wrong, and I'm sure it is out of the goodness of somebody else's heart, that they go, no, oh, that's not how you say that. That's actually pronounced like this, or something along those lines of, are you trying to say this word? Stuff like that, right? Okay. Well, I don't know about you, but hooked on phonics did not work for me. Sounding words out is not necessarily how you read everything. Okay. But the amount of times I've prevented myself and stopped myself from reading out loud, specifically because I was afraid I was going to be made fun of for mispronouncing a word that other people would find common to say. Can you see how tricky this can actually get? How it can be in every part of our experience. Okay. So, what if instead of pointing out what someone else doesn't know, how they're not doing it correctly, things along those lines, what if instead you stopped and you'd be like, ask yourself, is this a moment where I can take some of what I've learned and pass that knowledge on? Now, you may get a no, but you also might get a yes. So you have to ask, you have to check. Don't you want to live in a place where everybody feels equal? Can everybody feel equal if we're too busy pointing out their shortcomings, pointing out what they don't know, and then just calling it common knowledge? In my opinion, that's kind of how we're doing things now. And I don't think it's really working that great for everyone. And this consciousness that we're in together, this consciousness of inclusivity, means no longer leaving anybody behind. It's time to share what you know to the people who are ready to hear it. It is time for you to listen in the moments where people don't want to hear what you have to say. And we're going to, can we just start leaving the concept of common sense in the dust and instead bring with us opportunities to just share knowledge, to learn. After all, that's why we're here. That's why you chose to be on earth right now. So let's leave it at that. Now, I would like to thank you for spending this time with me. I am deeply humbled. And please don't forget to like this video and maybe consider subscribing to the channel so that you don't miss other videos such as this in the future. However, until next time, happy exploring, and I'll see you later.